Alright. So, let's talk about representing on. We've got an equation. So it says, number one says, complete the table and graph the solutions for the equation y equals 2x plus 1. Now, the first thing we want in all equations, are you going to pay attention at some point? The first thing we want in all equations is we want to put it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Is this in slope-intercept form? No. Does it say y equals something x plus a number?
Yes.
So which is m? What I want you to do right below it, I want you to write y equals mx plus b. Now there are colored pencils in the boxes. What I want you to do is circle the 2 and the m. It's supposed to be green. It doesn't show up real well.
Wait,
get a color. Get a colored pencil. I don't care what color.
Can you just use your pencil?
That's not a colored pencil. Listen. So you're going to write below that equation, just like I did on the board, y equals mx plus b.
Do we circle it in red or colored?
Circle it in colored.
Mr. Wheeler, admit it. You try to push all these down at once.
So now what we're doing, because we wrote it right below, it makes it pretty easy for us to find m. Because m is sitting in the same spot 2 is, right?
Yes, sir.
So the slope of this is 2, right?
Yes.
Now we'll do a different color. Just change with somebody near you, and circle the b. When we do this, Landon, focus.
That is not my fault.
When we do this, remember, if there is a negative number, if that b, if it says something like 2x minus 3, that minus goes with the 3. It's a negative 3. So when you circle it, you got to circle it. Timothy, you're making this too long.
God, Timothy.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is put this on a table down here. And the easiest way to do it is look at x, and we're going to substitute. So if x is negative 1, we're going to write this equation, y equals 2x plus 1. But instead of x, we're going to substitute what it has here, which is negative 1 plus 1.
Why would negative? Oh.
Because down here on the table, the first thing we're substituting is negative 1. So what's 2 times negative 1?
Negative 2.
What's negative 2 plus 1? Negative 1. So our y-coordinate would be negative 1. We'll do the same thing with the 0 coordinate. Y equals 2 times 0 plus 1. What's 2 times 0?
0.
What's 0 plus 1?
1. It's 1.
It's 1.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, we'll do the same thing in the next one. Y equals 2 times 1 plus 1.
3.
What's 2 times 1?
2.
Plus 1?
3.
One more time with our 2. Y equals 2 times 2
4.
plus 1.
5.
What's 2 times 2?
4.
Plus 1?
5. See, guys, I'm smart. Oh, it's kindergarten grade.
He knows how to add.
It's
not as hard as you think.
no, it's not. All right. Is everyone up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Now we graph the points. Remember, when you've got a coordinate, always label the left, right as x, and the up, down as y. Label them. Get in the practice of labeling so you won't have that urge. When we graph, the biggest and most common error is to switch the coordinates and graph them in an opposite fashion. So here I've got coordinates. X is negative 1. So I start at 0, move to negative 1. Y is negative 1. I move down and put a dot.
Whoa, whoa.
Wait. You go over 1.
Oh, okay. I thought you were on the
Let's go to the second one. X is 0. Y is 1.
Why? That's gnarly.
We move over. X is 1. We go left to right first. It's right. And we go up 3.
It's fun and each 4 between the 4 and blue guys. I think we can grab.
And the next one, X is 2. We go over to 2 all the way up to 5.
Make a straight line.
And we make a straight line.
Please.
No, but there's rollers in the closet. When you make your line, put heads on both ends. That means arrow tips at both sides. There are in there. There are rulers in there, but you can also use the board. It works real easy.
I got a clock. Would it still be proportional if it doesn't go through the board?
It's okay.
Is this
Metal.
Is it proportional?
Yes.
Does it go through the origin? Put it away.
Oh, wait. No, it doesn't.
Does it go through the origin?
No.
It's non-proportional. It has a y-intercept. It has a spot. This is the y-intercept. And the y-intercept coordinates are 0, comma 1. So the y-intercept is that 1. It is non-proportional. It is linear. In our equation, could I have made x 1/2?
Does this mean you have to have homework?
Could I have made x 1/2?
Yes.
Yes. I can make x whatever I want. So it is a continual relationship. All right, let's try number 2. So number 2, it says a tank starts with 2 liters of ooze in it. And ooze seeps out through a tube at a rate of 1 liter per hour. Write the equation, complete the table, graph the situation. All right, so remember, we're looking for a rate. That's our slope, which is something per something, generally speaking. And we're looking for a constant, which is a starting point, something that begins. So let's find the constant. What's the constant?
1 liter per hour.
Is that a constant or is that something per? That's a changing rate, isn't it? Every hour it changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what's the constant? What does it start with? 2 liters. This is our constant. So 2 liters is our constant.
I don't care what
And 1 liter per hour is what? What is 1 liter per hour?
Your variable?
Why wasn't it supposed to be?
Is it M or B?
Yeah.
It is M. It's our slope. Our constant is our B. That's our y-intercept. So let's write the equation. We know it's going to start with y equals something x plus b. So what is the rate per hour? 1. So the slope is 1. What's the starting point?
2 liters.
2.
2.
Oh, they said B. I actually put the letter B.
Yeah,
So what does my equation read?
Y
equals 1x plus
2.
Can I also write Chase? Can I also write y equals x plus 2?
No.
Sure.
Yes, because 1 is one of the only things that doesn't have to show up.
Well,
So let's make a table. Let's start. We've got x is negative 1. At negative 1 hours, there's a lot of conversations that don't need to be. So I replace it with my equation. So y equals 1 times negative 1 plus 2. What's 1 times negative 1?
0. Negative 1.
Oh, I did make one mistake here. The slope, is it gaining or losing?
Losing.
It's losing. So it's a negative slope. So what's negative 1 times negative 1?
Negative 2.
No.
Oh, wait.
Negative 1 times negative 1.
0. 2.
A negative times a negative is,
A positive.
what's 1 times 1?
2. 1.
1. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Let's put in 0. So y equals negative 1 times 0 plus 2. What's negative 1 times 0? 0. We love multiplying by 0. Plus 2 is 2. Now, if you look at this right here, this is our b, isn't it? If the x-coordinate is 0, whatever's with it is our y-intercept. Right?
Yes.
Okay, let's put in 1. Y equals negative 1 times 1 plus 2.
It's pretty much
What's negative 1 times 1?
0.
No.
It's 1.
The only thing... Go spit it out. The only time we're going to have 0 as a multiplication answer if one of the answers is 0 or one of the things is 0. So what's negative 1 times 1? Negative 1 plus 2 is? Negative 1 plus 2 is 1.
It's pretty much common sense.
Let's go to our last one. Y equals negative 1 times 2 plus 2. What's negative 1 times positive 2? Negative 2 plus 2 is? 0. So we got a table. Let's plot the points.
Okay.
Go ahead and plot them on your own. I'll plot them in here. You can check them.
Finished. I beat. Oh, what's wrong? I got it.
Good job, Raymond. Good for you.
And because it's an equation, it has arrowheads on both ends. Even though I know once the tank runs out, it's out.
Can't be bored.
Calculator.
It works too.
That's what I use. I'm just too lazy to get it.
Check yours up there.
That's ours.
I'm smart, guys. I did.
Any questions on how to do this?